Alright, so here I'm going to tell you how to transfer your design onto your fabric. First thing you need to do is you need to trace all of your shapes. I'm very sorry about all the sounds right now. My cat George is really being a jerk right now, and he's picking on Anakin, and he's about to get a timeout in just a couple minutes if he continues this. So notice that I'm going around the grapes. I'm not going to go draw each individual grape because I'm going to do a special kind of knot called a French knot. I'm going to show you in a video a little bit later. I'm just going to go around this line real quick because I'm going to do a back stitch. I'm going to show you every single stitch in later videos. So I'm just making sure that I trace pretty much over everything. I'm just going to go, I'm leaving a couple details out. You'll notice that I'm leaving a line out at the bottom of that arrow, or I guess at the top of the arrowhead. I really don't want that to be separate from the rest of the lightning. I'm being pretty careful trying to make sure that I get on every single line. When it comes to the acorn, there's some decorative stitching that I want to do on it, but I'm going to just draw the outline of that acorn too, because that decorative stitching I'm going to put in later. Make sure you don't miss any lines because it'll be harder to see it when it's in pencil once it's been colored. So you notice I'm just going around that decorative stitching I'm going to put in there and just go around just the outside of that acorn. Alright, so now I'm going to transfer my design onto my fabric. I'm going to put this over a light source. You can use your iPad. I'm using a little clear box with my phone flashlight behind it. I'm sorry about the wiggliness. The holder for my iPad is attached to the table I'm working on, and every time I moved even just a little bit, it wiggled. I won't have that set up like that in the future. So I'm making sure I'm going to trace over every little shape. You'll notice that my left hand is really trying to hold my fabric in place because the fabric really likes to move. You'll see it just move right just now. I'm really trying to hold it as tight as possible to make sure that it doesn't move too much. And I'm doing my pen strokes in particular ways because holding the fabric one way makes the fabric not move when I'm using my pencil, but if I shift it to a different angle, I might have to shift my hand around, so I'm trying to be a little bit efficient here. So notice again, I'm going just around the edge, the outside of the grapes. I'm not doing the inside of the grapes because I'm going to do a special knot called a special stitch called a French knot for all of those little grapes, and it's going to look really nice when I'm done. Yeah, so again, I'm not going over the special stitch right here. I'm going to have a special video just for special stitches that you might want to include in your project. I did miss kind of a few parts on this part right here because I was trying to go, make the fabric not shift around, but in my attempt to make the fabric not shift around, I missed a few little spots. I'm going to put them in afterwards, but please make sure that you don't miss any of those spots, or you might have a hard time filling it in later on. When you don't have the light behind you, and it's sometimes hard to match your pattern back up to the drawing that you've done on the fabric back up to your drawing that you did on the paper. Yeah, you can see that fabric is really shifting around as I'm working. You're definitely going to have this problem also. It's just really hard to transfer anything on the fabric. That's just how fabric is. So anytime I do any sewing, I have the exact same problems when I'm transferring a pattern onto it. So I'm going to go ahead and fill in those spaces right here. I'm going to take the light out so I can kind of see what I've done, a little more clearly. And I can see those patterns definitely did not quite work out. Alright, so we've got that all fixed now. Alright, so this is how you're going to put your fabric into the embroidery hoop. I'm going to do it for you the very first time. So you take the embroidery hoop apart, you unscrew that little nut. You notice there's a piece of felt here. You use the felt to hold the edges of the fabric together when you cut it out and you're doing the edging. We discovered that the fabric fell apart if we didn't use the felt behind it the first year I did this project, so that's an addition that we've added. So you're going to try to make it really tight, like a drum. It's very, very important that your fabric is stretched very taut. Then once it's taut, you're going to screw that little nut back close, as tight as you can, but without stripping any of the screw ridges. And notice that it's pretty tight right there. You don't want it to be floppy in there, otherwise it's going to be a problem.